Hey, it's me, April. I'm just popping on just to share another video of some authentic sharing. And I'm wanting to be more purposeful in my YouTube channel. And really creating that channel is a way of just sharing more of who I am to connect with others that maybe want to know what a spiritual awakening looks like, your spiritual journey of uncovering and unpacking trauma versus being curious about some things in your life, especially relating to religion, church trauma, as I experience my journey with that, because that's my journey. I've also had some sexual abuse as a child within a neighborhood that I was growing up in, and there's that as well. That's not prevalent in kind of where I'm at in my process now, but with all of our traumas, big or little, there's always more to peeling the onion, right? There's always different facets to a diamond, one diamond, and all the different facets, which can be one trauma event, and all the different ways that we've perceived different parts of our event and different false beliefs we tell ourselves regarding just that one event, be it big or little, and how it hides in our feelings. And that's why I love what I do, is uncovering feelings, because it helps me to finding more of my authentic self, is when I'm curious about my feelings and what's going on. And over the past year and a half, I just want to talk about grief, because there's a lot of grief feelings that I've struggled with different parts of grief, that I finally am allowing myself to be like, okay, I can't just quickly get through it. I can't just feel feelings of grief and move on. There are times for that. And then there's times that this year that I'm learning about myself is really taking the time to sit with that dark side of me. Because I think what we've learned in church is there is no dark side of you. If you have darkness in you, it's from the devil, or you're born with your wicked heart, and you need to, do these things to create in you a clean heart, and bringing everything from the outside in. I need to be in church. I need to read the Bible more. I need to pray more. I need to certain denominations that I were in, speak in tongues more. You need to, do all these things to get more of God in you, because the more of God you have in you, the better person you'll be. And so for me, growing up in that environment was, okay, I need to do these things to stay out of hell and to not let God be upset with me or punish me. Or as a teenager, in one youth group, preteen kind of group that I was in at church, they showed a lot of the Left Behind videos, and so I was scared to death of, well, I'm going to be left behind if I happen to be in the wrong movie when Jesus comes back. So I need to make sure I'm, always praying and always doing the things to where I will be approved, I will be accepted. And basically the end goal was to get into heaven. But go ahead and start working on your relationship now, because the end goal is heaven. And oh God, once I'm in heaven, everything's just going to be hunky-dory and beautiful, and I'm just going to be changed in a blink of an eye. I don't believe that anymore. I think it has more to do with the journey and the beauty in the journey. Beauty for ashes, it talks about in the Bible of just where's the beauty in the journey? Where's the beauty in the pain? Because I used to think pain was bad, and we got to get rid of it, give it to God, whatever, like hot potato. Oh my God, I got to get rid of that really fast. I can't think this way, I can't feel this way, because I need to be happy all the time. I need to be blessed. And if I'm feeling down, I just need friends or whatever to come pray for me, and just turn it over to God, which I'm not knocking the church, just my experience and the way I perceived things that were being taught to me, because being taught in a fear-based environment like that, and me being very scared and not having a voice, just different surroundings in my life, I always felt like my voice was dismissed. It wasn't heard. I wasn't able to explain myself clearly, and so people assumed different things about me, and I just kept quiet, and I tried to please everybody, and I tried to be the good girl. And with doing that, you suppress a lot of things. And I ran into a friend today that even said, oh, April, back in the day when you were in school, you were so quiet and calm. And what I'm discovering about myself is I am not, sorry, my nose itches. I'm not calm. I'm very fun and like, seeing Poppy, my daughter, I'm like, I resonate with a lot of that, and I want to get to know myself better, as in the fun, carefree, and just whatever, be silly, and being okay with it, instead of, okay, we're just in this group of people, I can be silly and whatever. Who cares? Let me be me. And so finding my voice, and just talking with my husband the other day, and how when he feels dismissed or not heard, he gets upset about it. I'm always dismissed, and he has some really strong feelings about that, and his stories and his false beliefs and all that goes on with him. But what I finally started realizing, just even this weekend, was, why don't I respond like that when I feel like I've been dismissed or not heard or pushed aside, or made fun of or whatever? I just kind of shrink and be like, well, yeah, maybe they were right, and I shouldn't say anything. That was probably stupid what I said, and that was dumb. I shouldn't have said anything, and they're more important than me. So focus on them and pleasing them, making them look good. And it, all in my life, with family, to church, to mentors, to different things in my life. Now, I do have to say, there was one youth group that I was a part of, and I had the absolute best youth ministers, and I love them dearly, and I always felt heard by them. So as I'm sharing my experience in the church experience, which is over several different churches, not everybody that I came in contact with are terrible and mean and dismissive to me. But usually we focus more on the negative than we do the positive, right? And for me, being aware of the negative and working through that, being curious. Why did it affect me that way? Why couldn't I have found my voice in that instance? And realizing that I've been dismissed, even to the point of where, in one church I was in, as I was, coming to find out about my feelings and being okay with having feelings, instead of being told by the church that feelings are bad and feelings lie and all these things. And so I understand a little bit part of that, because feelings, we don't live by our feelings. Is, oh my gosh, I feel depressed, so I must be depressed, and I have to live a depressed lifestyle, and that's just my new being in life forever and ever. I will always be depressed. Now, I'm not talking about a mental illness. There are some people that, with their brain chemistry, they are clinically diagnosed as depressed or with depression, and there is treatment for that. There is help for that. But I'm talking about my feelings of feeling heavy, feeling lost, feeling sad, feeling just tired, feeling overwhelmed. And all those are my feelings. And so when I start feeling that, I question is why? Where did it come from? Is this, and just look into it. And it gives me clues as to, hey, this time in your life, this happened, and this is where these feelings began. And then self-love would be, okay, let me sit with myself and what loving myself actually looks like in that situation, and how I can be loving to my little girl or my teenage self or my young adult self, whatever it is. And even now, being loving to myself, as in, it's okay. I didn't have a voice. I didn't know how to use it. And now I am. And a lot of it is doing videos and being like, this is me now. But I even remember in the church, there was a time when I was told, as I was, getting into my feelings, being curious about them and learning from them instead of just get over it. I was told that, oh, well, you're just kind of the feelings person. That's just who you are. Okay, well, yeah. I think we all have feelings, but, that's just my opinion. So anyway, I was told that, well, and you help those people. And then once you help them and fix them, then they can, be more a part of this other stuff that was going on in church. Whatever that was. And so it was like, okay, so you're saying those people are broken and they need fixing so that they can, be more active and more engaging in other areas in church or in the service or whatever. And maybe they didn't mean it that way, but I took it that way, was my perception, because I just didn't feel a lot of support and was kind of pushed out of different things in church. And it was like, okay, all right, I get the hint. But when I was uncovering my feelings, I was becoming more alive and having more freedom. And so that kind of was getting me to where now I'm like breaking free from religion and from Christianity. And hear me, it's Christianity according to my experience. Your experience and your interpretation of Christianity might be something totally different, but with mine was, you better, let Jesus be the Lord of your life, and you have to do this, and just shame and fear driven of your behaviors. You better be in church and whatever. Even though things were said differently, but the feelings were, you needed to do this. And the other experiences I've had were, you were told shameful things, mean things, you were treated differently, you were just whatever. There were times we were called into the office of, well, you need to do this. Your tithing is not what it should be, and we're calling us on it. And I'm like, okay, wow. They didn't want to know our story as to what was going on. It was more, you needed to do these things. And when you're in it, again, I didn't have a voice, and it was just like, okay, here we go. We're just going to take it in, and they're right, I'm wrong. Don't question. Whatever you do, don't question. I learned that in church from a very early age. I did ask questions in some of my elementary Sunday school classes, and they were just like, oh my God, that question is, and, I think they even talked to my parents, or, it's like, she's got some questions. And it wasn't like, oh my gosh, that's celebrated me for my questions because they didn't know the answer. It was like, well, you just need to be quiet. We're not going to be okay with, we don't know. And I know a lot of things has changed since then, but as a child and your perception, and, that's where I'm at today. And that's why I'm pulling away from church. And the whole grieving for me in this time of my life, over the year and a half, there was different types, because there's different types of grieving, right? Grieving the loss of a person, a family member, a friend, someone close to you, and losing them to death. Or could be the loss of a pet, could be loss of so many different things in life that we grieve. For example, for me, one that I dealt with earlier, and not that I'm totally over it, but, healing comes in layers, right? And different awarenesses, was grieving part of my childhood that was stolen from me from sexual abuse. And then, different things that come along with that. And so there's different forms of grieving and different types of grieving, but grieving is something that just wants you to see it, sit with it in yourself. That might feel like a dark side of you, but it's just pain that wants to be heard, wants to be held, wants to be embraced, to teach you things, to show you things, to bring awareness to you. And so with this part of my life, grieving is losing people. And it's not that I'm losing people, but it's losing what I thought different relationships were or were supposed to be, which was not healthy. But being in the church family, when you're in the church family and in the Christian community, it's like, well, we're your family. This is family. And anybody that's not saved or has said the prayer or confessed their sins and all these things, then they're outside of the church family and you're inside the church family. So we're not to be equally yoked to these people. We can be friends with them, but the goal is to bring them in. And instead of just letting those people be and believing in them, that they will find the answers in here. Because I truly believe we're divinely connected, always have been connected, will forever be connected with God, with the divine, the creator of the universe. We're connected. Every part of me, my cell, every part of me is connected. And so I focus on that connection, the connection with myself, and the connection with my body, and the connection with other people. It's about relationships, right? And they do teach that in church. But yet they want to control how to have that relationship, what the relationship looks like. And I'm just like, let it be whatever it is, whatever it looks like for you. We're all different. Your relationship with God's going to look different than mine, but it doesn't mean you don't have one. And that's just mean. I'll call it right here. That is mean to tell somebody that they do not have a relationship or connected to God. I know that's in the theology, but being on the outside of that, that's mean. When you hear that from a Christian telling a person that is not Christian, I'm just here to tell you Christians, it sounds mean. And because I've never been on the outside, so I'm seeing things in kind of a different light. finding my voice, speaking up, asking questions, hard questions. One of them is if Jesus came, this is one, if Jesus came to save the world, okay? He came to save the world. Why did he only come to the Jewish people at that time? That's mean. Why didn't he come to the other people? Was he judging them? Because I thought Jesus didn't judge. So, I'll get off my soapbox. But I have a lot of other questions, and I want to be with other people that question, that we can talk about and be curious about. Instead of, nope, you're wrong. You are wrong because that is not what the Bible says. Well, that's just your interpretation of the Bible. Everybody interprets it different, right? So, anyway, as I'm trying to find healing, as I'm breaking free from church, Christianity, religion, is that apparently it makes people very uncomfortable. The ones that I had relationships when I was inside the church, because they're trying to fix me and trying to bring me back in church. Things like, you got to get in the four walls, doesn't matter what you're going through, you got to, sign of the times, you got to be in a church building. And then trying to, I guess, call me out on my sin. And the thing is, I love these people that are saying things like this. I truly do. But where they are and where I'm at, we're in just two different places in our journey. Not one that's bad, not one that's good. We're just in two different places. And for me and my healing, my protection from my heart, I've got to separate myself from some of that. And it's not that I'm trying to separate from the people. I'm just trying to separate from the hurtful things that are being said that they probably have no idea that's hurtful. But it doesn't mean that I can go and be ugly. I would never want to be ugly about it. I just need to separate myself for healing. But I think a lot of people, if you grew up in church and had the church experience I did, it's like, oh, we can't do that. We got to save the world. You got to be connected because you might say something that brings healing for other people, even though I'm kind of in a different place spiritual-wise. But I still have that in my head, like, oh, you could help somebody. My job is for me to uncover my true self, and uncovering these falsities and lies that I've been living under, and being lies that are being driven by fear, instead of me focusing on me and being grateful, being forgiving, being loving, being kind to everyone I run across, but also to be loving and kind to myself, that I set healthy boundaries of being like, no, I'm not going to engage in this. And it might be for a time. I can be fully engaged with some of these people that I've kind of pulling back from. So I'm not looking at it as, well, these Christian people will never be in my life. No, that's not what I mean. But I am finding my voice. And my voice has value, and it needs to be heard, even if it's by me. But I share videos for me to find my voice, but to let others know that are in maybe a similar journey, whatever that looks like for them, you're not alone. And even though we all go through different types of grief, there's joy in the journey. And even though I'm feeling sad or scared of this new way of being without being in these abusive relationships, for me anyway, the way my perception, that I can, dealing with the feelings of sadness, being scared, who am I now without that, weird dysfunctional family relationship I was in the church. Now that I'm breaking away, who am I now? Because I'm uncovering more and more of who I am. I got a lot of answers, but there's still more of me to uncover. For me to live this life fully engaging, and fully being prosperous in every area of my life. That doesn't mean financially. Prosperous in my body, in my mental health, and my spiritual health, and the world. Whatever that looks like for me, that brings me joy, brings me life, brings me energy, fills me up. And being in church, there were times that it was fulfilling and it did bring me life, but it never lasted. And always had to do more work and more work. Now I'm finding a life of rest, of peace, even in the midst of grief, even in the midst of pain and trauma. I still can find rest. I still am comfortable with me being and learning how to be, loving that about me, and having fun. I love to have fun and be quirky and be silly and be, I don't know, have it all. I want everything this life has to offer me and what I signed up for. So anyway, until next week, and hopefully they'll be shorter. I think this went long just because I hadn't been on here for a while, and just kind of catch all of where I'm at. And I have all the feelings, and I love every one of them as I embrace them and continue my life of healing and wholeness, freedom, and totally full of love and connection. Bye.